Hi everyone, it's WELLGARD and it's a brief retelling of the 2011 movie Julia X. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our new videos. The film begins with a young and charming girl meeting a man in a cafe to get to know him better. Julia has no opportunity to look for a guy on the street, so she makes an acquaintance through the internet. He seemed very interesting to her, and after a phone call, the couple decided to meet face to face. While having a nice conversation in a cafe, she imagines the course of further events. At one point, she excuses herself and goes to the bathroom to powder her nose. The man follows her to make love. At first, Julia pushes him away, but then lets him do whatever the mysterious stranger wants. Realizing that in reality she doesn't want this, the girl hastily interrupts the meeting and leaves. After calling Jessica, she promises to return home soon and gets into her car. Here the girl was in for an unpleasant surprise because her recent acquaintance is already in the car. Taking the beauty hostage, she offers her a ride to the bottom of a hot spot where she is sure to enjoy herself. At this point, Julia realizes that the man is the maniac who's been in all the local newspapers. Once in the lair, the maniac binds the prisoner's hands and hangs her on a hook like prey he's about to kill. The man leaves to clean himself up and puts on his favorite music on his headphones to help him relax. Meanwhile, Julia gets off the hook and finds her phone left in her raincoat. She tries to hide in a large garage and call the police, but the maniac notices her disappearance on the cameras. Using dark glasses that allow him to see without lights, he turns off the power in the garage and immediately finds the escaped maiden. The man decides to teach the beauty a lesson for trying to escape and chains her to the trunk of a pickup truck. With a red-hot rod, he brands Julia with a letter X on her heel. The unconscious girl is handcuffed by the man and carried to the van. On the way, he hears Julia's cell phone ringing and, after making a forced stop, punishes her for it. At one point, the prisoner notices that she's lying in the back of a van with another girl and tries to talk to her. It turns out that she is dead and the maniac is on his way to an abandoned place to dispose of the body of his victim branded with the letter W. While the maniac hides the body in a pit flooded with rainwater and kisses the previous victim, Julia notices the keys to the handcuffs and frees herself to escape, taking a shovel with her. The man enjoys the game and leaves the van to pursue his new victim. Julia finds an old house and breaks the glass to hide inside. The maniac keeps following her and breaks into the house, but immediately gets hit in the back with a shovel. The attempt to escape ends in a failure as most of the doors are locked, and the girl has nowhere to run. Once again grabbing Julia, the man continues to flirt with her and picks up on the fact that his pickup techniques are far from ideal. Not wanting to listen to this nonsense, the girl stuns the maniac and jumps out of the window. The man senses the excitement in it and lets her get away from him for a bit, after which he continues her pursuit. Julia swims away from the shore on a boat, but the stranger from the cafe is once again too close. The lake is shallow, so she ditches the boat and walks away on the water. The maniac takes off his headphones for a few moments to hear his victim, but decides not to stop listening to his relaxing music. After wandering through the woods and swamps, the girl notices an abandoned brick building and goes there. The maniac finds Julia's footprints and follows her, believing it to be easy prey. Meanwhile, the girl explores the second floor and finds a can of gasoline and some signal lights. While the maniac methodically inspects all the rooms and leisurely pursues Julia, she runs out into the street and sets fire to the pole. This should divert the maniac's attention and serve as a signal to people nearby. In one of the rooms, the girl finds a can of paint and a bag. Having stunned the stranger with a tire iron, she puts him to sleep by improvised means and drags him out into the street. A black car arrives, driven by Jessica, Julia's sister. Now it becomes clear that the girl isn't an innocent sheep and the victim of a maniac, but a sadist even worse than the stranger from the cafe. She was purposefully looking for him, though she assumed that catching the man would be much easier. After pushing the captive maniac into the trunk, the sisters return to their home. Upon arrival, the stranger wakes up, but another precise blow with a tire iron causes him to pass out. A short time later, the man regains consciousness and realizes that he is in a strange room, and next to him are scary mannequins of a man and a woman. The maniac is chained by the neck to the wall and cannot escape, so he's forced to play by the girl's rules. Meanwhile, Jessica helps Julia dress the wound from the hot rod and tells her that she's already found her next victim. Her older sister asks her to be more careful and not so aggressive. Julia still believes that there are good men out there and not to kill everyone who sent an intelligent photo. Jessica doesn't like her sister's control, for she dreams of killing and punishing anyone who allows himself vicious thoughts. This behavior is not surprising, because the girls grew up in a family of a sadistic man who allowed himself to molest his daughters. The man constantly beat and humiliated her mother and entertained Julia, determined to do anything to protect little Jessica. Since then, her attitude towards her little sister hasn't changed, but the girl always wants to prove that she has grown up and can stand up for herself. After a dialogue with her sister, Julia visits the maniac in the basement and leaves the key to the lock, allowing him to escape. Once the man is free and up to the first floor, the girl stabs him precisely in the back with a hammer. He enjoys the cat-and-mouse game, so the maniac eagerly pursues the girl. At one point, he notices that there are two of them, and that excites the man even more when he realizes that he is in for a hot threesome. After spraying her eyes with a spray can, Julia escapes and proceeds to calm Jessica's dream of ridding the world of male maniacs. At one point, a battered stranger pushes her sister back into the basement and pursues Julia. Grabbing the first thing at hand, the girl delivers several precise blows with a frying pan and knocks out the maniac. Sometime later, he regains consciousness from the terrible pain as Julia decided to treat his wounds with strong alcohol. Captive and bound by barbed wire, the man is unable to resist and is forced to listen to the girl who despises him. At some point, Julia leaves and Jessica takes advantage of the moment by starting to flirt with her victim. The older sister doesn't like her behavior, but the girl wants to complete her revenge as soon as possible by sending the maniac to the afterlife. Julia offers to take her time as she falls off her feet due to fatigue and falls asleep in her bed. Meanwhile, Jessica decides to prove that she's no longer a child. In a revealing outfit, the girl goes to the neighbor mechanic Sam, who's repairing his Mustang. Jessica lies and says that her motorcycle is broken and asks the man for help. He can't resist the temptation and agrees. The girl blindfolds Sam and brings him into the house, then puts him in a chair across from the maniac she caught earlier and ties up the mechanic. The neighbor is shocked that he's not the only man in the house and is frightened out of his wits by the circumstances. Until the last moment, the naive fool thought that he was waiting for role-playing and a threesome, but soon realized his mistake. Julia isn't happy with what's happening and asks her sister to stop, but Jessica wants to prove at all costs that she's an adult and doesn't need to be patronized. The older sister allows this to happen and gives Jessica big nails and a hammer to kill Sam. The maniac provokes the girl, so she leaves the mechanic alone and drives the nails into the legs of a bound stranger from the cafe. Afterward, Jessica finds a stun gun and amuses Sam by making him suffer. Julia leaves to take a bath, and Jessica leaves the man and goes to her bedroom. At the same time, the maniac realizes that the girl has left the clippers in his hands. After freeing himself by removing Sam's bandage, the man treats his wounds with leftover alcohol and realizes that the game is on. To begin with, he attacks Julia and nearly kills her, but Jessica manages to stop the maniac. At one point, the girls think he's escaped, but he hasn't, because the man enjoys catching up with them. While her younger sister distracts the maniac, Julia frees Sam and lets him escape. Jessica fights off the maniac with scissors, and the older sister grabs a sledgehammer to end the man and rid the world of another scoundrel. As the fight progresses, Julia and the maniac exchange pleasantries and continue to get to know each other, telling each other what they like. A passionate date with beatings and self-mutilation is occasionally spoiled by Jessica intervening in the showdown. Eventually, she wins the fight and drags the immobilized man into the house. The older sister calls out to Jessica, and she, hugging Julia, stabs her to death with a pair of scissors. Maniac is thrilled to see what's going on and thinks it's the best date of his life. Jessica is an adult now and she doesn't need custody, so she decides to get rid of her older sister. She then kills the man and goes into the kitchen to get a knife. After disposing of the bodies, the girl acts no better than a sophisticated maniac and sets fire to the house to destroy all evidence. Sometime later, Jessica continues to meet men online and asks them out on a date. At the meeting, the girl calls herself Jessica Y and behaves defiantly. As soon as a stranger agrees to a secluded cafe and realizes that the girl likes rude antics, she brutally kills him. At the end of the date, she turns on the maniac's music and gets into Sam's red Mustang, then rushes off into the distance. And that's where the movie ends. Thank you for watching.